Hello everyone, welcome to Southern Wreaths. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I make this really pretty, really bright, fun Halloween wreath. These are the supplies I'm going to use to make this wreath. I'm going to start by adding pipe cleaners to my 14-inch wire frame. I'm going to add one to each crossbar on the center. I'm twisting 3 times, pretty tightly. You end up with 6 in the middle. Once I finish doing the inside, I'll move to the outside. And you could pick whatever color pipe cleaners you want to use. I just happen to have a lot of white ones. So I'm going to pick a random crossbar to start. And then after I twist it 3 times, I'm going to lay the pipe cleaners along the second from the outside ring. Where the pipe cleaners end, I'm going to add my next one. And I'm going to do this going all the way around the outside. I end up with 8 ties on the outside, so 14 total. So today I'm going to do my mesh a little differently than what I normally do. I call this double mesh. So I'm just taking a regular plain mesh on the bottom. This is a great way to use up your 21-inch mesh, even if it's not metallic, just your plain mesh, and then add a really pretty premium mesh on top. This one is completely solid. You can't see through it at all. So I'm going to sit it as centered as possible, and then I'm just going to scrunch it all together. I started my scrunching in the middle so that I made sure it didn't go off to the side. After I have everything gathered together, I'm just going to attach it to the frame using a zip tie. This is really thick, especially if you use the premium mesh, so you really want to pull it tight. Like I said, it's really thick, so it could easily slide out of a pipe cleaner, especially since there's 2, so you might want to use a zip tie. I like to push the mesh to the back before I trim it away. This way the little piece that's left over is still in the back. And then I'm just going to make poofs like I normally do. I'm going to do 12-inch poofs this time. And I'm just using my mat to measure. I like to go ahead and go around and open all my pipe cleaners before I start. So this wreath's a lot of fun. It's a great way to use up some of your plain mesh. I know a lot of people stock up on 21-inch mesh, but then they don't know what to do with it. I am one of those people. It is kind of aggravating to work with, but the end result is so awesome. This black and white with the green reminded me a lot of Beetlejuice, so that would be a fun way to use this mesh. Kind of looks like the scales on a snake. I'm just going to continue going around making my 12-inch poofs and fluffing as I go. Once I get to the last one, I'm going to pull the pipe cleaner around where I connected the zip tie and then just twist it 1.5 times. That way I get a perfect seam. So I attach the mesh where the pipe cleaner is, and then the last poof goes into that pipe cleaner. And then to do the center, I'm going to open all the pipe cleaners, and then I'm going to pull the mesh up to the closest one to me, or to where the mesh ends. And this just keeps it from making like a diagonal poof. And it saves you from having to cut and re-zip tie. And again, just twisting 1.5 times. And now I'll continue making my 12-inch poofs around the center. Sorry about getting it into the camera. The mesh was really thick, so you have to really pull it. So I was kind of fighting with the frame a little bit. Okay, once I get to the last one, I'm going to open that first pipe cleaner I used on the center, and then that's where my last poof will go. Again, creating a perfect seamless circle. I'm only twisting 1.5 times because I'm still going to add more mesh and I'm adding ribbon. And then I'll just trim this away. I'm going to push the mesh to the back in between the poofs. And then I'll attach it to the frame with a zip tie around the back. If anyone's interested in following me on social media, you can find me on Instagram at Southern Wreaths More, on Facebook at Southern Wreaths, and I also have a Facebook group called Southern Wreaths and More. I also have all of these links in the description below. Alright, once I've got it attached, I'm just going to trim away the zip tie after I make sure it's super tight, and then cut away the excess mesh. this is what it looks like with just the two base mesh is. Sorry, it's kind of weird looking, but in the end it all looks nice because you got little pops of green and black and white. I thought it would be a lot of fun to have the ruffles also be double meshed, so I'm just cutting 20-inch pieces of purple mesh, and then I'll do the same with the orange metallic mesh. It's kind of like a premium mesh. It's all foil, but you can't see through it, so it's not as solid as the black and white. And I'm just cutting them the same length because I'm going to overlap them just like I did with the base mesh. I'm just going to use my Mod Podge bottle to hold this in place, and I'm just going to lay it over the top, get it as centered as I can, and then just roll it out flat. And again, this would be a really nice way to use your plain mesh. If you purchased any mesh that's just the plain color without the metallic stripes and you don't know what to do with them, this is a great way to do it. Just layer it up with a prettier mesh. And then I like to curl under the first part of my ruffle just to keep the ends nice and clean. It helps me with fraying. And then I just gather it all together in my fingers. And I also tuck in the last part of the ruffle. Now I'm just going to open my zip tie. I don't actually untie it. I'm just pulling it apart so I can shove my ruffle in there. And again, I'm only going to twist 1.5 times because I'm going to add ribbon. You do start to run out of pipe cleaner, so if you have trouble using your hands, this might not be the best mesh for, or the best method for you. Because after you put the ribbons in there, you have to pull it pretty tight, and then you roll it down, and there's not a lot to roll down. And here, I'll just show you one more time how I did the ruffle. So I lined it up as best I could, tried to get it as centered as possible, and then just ruffle it all together. Mesh wants to stick together, so it was pretty easy to get it to stay. I didn't have any trouble with it coming apart. I wouldn't think you would have any trouble with that because, like I said, mesh wants to stick together. This would be a really fun way to use tulle as well. You could lay tulle across your mesh like that and ruffle it. That would be really pretty. So after I went around and did the inside, I'm just going to show you. I do the outside the exact same way. I just sped it up a little bit. I just shove it in there and get it as centered as I can. Do 1.5 twists and then just fluff it. And this is what it'll look like when it's all done. I'm trying to show you the really nice shine you get with some of the mesh. I just think it's pretty. Sometimes it's fun to do a lot of messy colors. Alright, so those are the 4 ribbons I decided to use. I'm just going to use my 12-inch piece of cardboard. It's actually slightly less than 12 inches, just a little bit less. And I'm going to wrap my ribbon around it. This ribbon is amazing to work with. It's all glitter. It's super sturdy. It kind of reminds me of plastic. It stays where you put it. You don't have to worry about it bending or fraying at all. And I'm just wrapping it around 7 times. And then I'm going to slide my scissors through. And I end up with 7 pieces of 12-inch ribbon. So now I'm just going to dovetail the ends. I just grab 2 or 3 pieces of ribbon. And then I fold them in half hot dog way. And I'm going to cut from the wire part to the crease at an angle. And I'll do that on either end for all of my ribbon. It's not necessary, I just like the way it looks. You could do just a diagonal cut or just leave it square. So these are all the ribbons after they're cut and ready to go. I like to stack my ribbon the way I'm going to put it in the wreath, just so it's easier to grab and add. And so I'm just going to grab my first 2. I like to fold them in half in the middle. And then pinch it where the crease is. Kind of butterfly it out. And then put it into my pipe cleaner. And now I'm going to twist 3 times. You want to do it really tight. You don't want this ribbon to come out. And then I'm just going to curl it down with my pipe cleaner. I like to fluff, making an X. But you could do like both colors to one side and 2 to the other. Or if you decide to use the same ribbon in the whole thing, you could do that as well. You just do an X. It's simple. And you'll go back and play around with it at the end and get everything to lay where you want it to be. The main thing is to pull the center ribbons into the center of the wreath, and then the outside will cover the rest. And here, I'll just show you one more time. I like to make sure they're lined up, fold it in half to find the center, and then pinch at the crease. A trick I do like to use is I like to put the more sturdy ribbon on the bottom when I'm pinching and creasing, and then like a more flimsy ribbon, like more of a cloth ribbon on top. This just helps with the way it fluffs on your wreath. Give it a try one time. If you have a more sturdy ribbon underneath, it really helps pop the flimsy ribbon off of the wreath, because not all ribbons created the same. Okay, so for the outside, I'm doing the same thing. Put it in, twist 3 times, roll down with the pipe cleaner. I'm just going to fluff it slightly different. It doesn't make an X so much as it makes like a bow tie, where the top 2 are straight across and the bottom 2 are flared out. You could make an X. I just find with that you cover up a lot of ribbon, and I don't like a lot of overlapping ribbon. This is what it looks like just plain with the ribbon and the mesh. Again, lots of shine, lots of sparkle, tons of glitter. Luckily, this ribbon did not shed. I did not have glitter everywhere. So I made a bow. I recorded myself making the bow, and my camera died, and for some reason it deleted the recording of me making the bow. So I will link here to me making a bow so you can know how I made it. And there I was just messing around figuring out where I wanted to put the bow and the sign. I would say this bow measures about 12 inches. The tails are probably 8 inches. And then that sign I got from Craft Outlet, and it's pretty much all glitter, but it's a foam sign. So I think that will hold up really well outside. I'm pushing the pipe cleaners that I used on my bow to the back of the wreath and then attaching it to the frame. And here I just turned over and I'll show you. Just twist it. You don't want to pull it too tight because it'll pull the bow down unless you want the bow sunk into the wreath. I kind of wanted it to stand out. And then I'll just go through and fluff it a little bit. You'll find when you make bows, you fluff them a lot. Okay, so I went through several different ways of attaching this, and the hot glue was the best I could come up with. Because it's a foam sign, the staples wouldn't hold it. So I took a piece of paper, just it's regular white computer paper, and cut strips of it. I'm adding hot glue underneath the pipe cleaner and then over top, and then putting the paper over that. And then once that dries, I just trim away the excess paper, and then that's what I use to hold it. And it's Gorilla Glue, so it holds really well. And because it's foam, it kind of melts into it, so I didn't really have to worry about it coming undone. The camera doesn't pick up how really beautiful this wreath is with all of the sparkle and the glitter. And I'm just doing the same thing I did with the bow. I'm feeding the pipe cleaner to the back, and I'm going to twist it around the frame. And this is a good formula for any wreath. You could do lots of ruffle wreaths. If you do craft shows, you could just make a bunch of different wreaths that all pretty much have the same thing. You know, the bow, the sign, the ruffles. It just makes life a lot easier when you have a formula or a system on how you do it. But that's it. That's how I made my really sparkly, fun, colorful Halloween wreath. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, or you can email me at craftingwithlee@yahoo.com. Thanks so much for watching, and if y'all learned anything today or like my video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.